The utter capitulation of the Afghanistan government and its incompetent army is one thing. More shocking this past week has been the humiliation of the American military and its Commander-in-Chief, President Biden, accused around the world of being weak and indecisive. But what's most disturbing is the plight of millions of Afghans, especially women and girls, who are abandoned and now staring at futures more reminiscent of the Dark Ages. It's a frightening time, except for the Taliban, who've likely even surprised themselves at the ease with which they've regained control of this deeply troubled country. Afghanistan has always been a country of contrasts and conflict, a beautiful land racked by centuries of war. But right now, with the return of the Taliban to power, it's a place of desperation and fear.
Taliban are roaming here with their weapons. They are checking everywhere, their homes, their offices, everything. I'm really afraid because the Taliban are not okay with the female.
Hunkered behind locked doors, Sabira is 23. Well-educated and with up-and-coming careers, she and her 27-year-old sister Amina are shining examples of everything the Taliban detests.
It's very scary. You cannot guess our feeling right now, that how we feel. We cannot move any place. Even we cannot go to our neighbors. Everyone is scared. They're telling us that you should not move from your houses. So we are hopeless. We are just sitting in our home. The only weapon we have right now is our prayers. We are just praying, that's it. You know, the higher authorities left us all alone. The president, the ministers, everybody, the leaders, they all left us alone with the Taliban.
In the newly declared Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, millions of women and girls remain holed up at home, terrified of what the new regime has in store.
We can see our life is finished. We can see our dreams are finished. If we stay here, I can say that I would rather die to be a sex slave for Taliban. If they take us as their wives, you are only the sex slave for the Taliban, that's it. And I would rather die.
It began as a response to the attacks of September the 11th. Our longest war dragged on for 20 years. For all the blood and sacrifice, it's hard not to question what we actually achieved. With rapid speed, Afghanistan has been catapulted back to what many fear will be the dark ages of Taliban rule. Mr. Shaheen, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Listening to their official spokesman, Suhail Shaheen, you'd think Kabul was in the midst of celebrations.
If there were not the support of the people of Afghanistan, we would not have been able to put an end to the occupation. They supported us with their sons, and also they supported us with their money.
You expect the rest of the world to believe that the Taliban has swept to power off the back of the support of the Afghan people?
Yes, that's true.
It's not true.
If it was not the support of the people, how we can fight 54 countries of the world? Is it possible?
You've swept to power in Afghanistan because of the brutality and the barbarity of your regime, because you've swept through regions across the country, killing people. There are very few choices in that country. It's either surrender or be killed. That doesn't sound like a good choice.
No, you are speaking the narrative of our opponents, like their spokesman.
We're hearing about people being targeted, being executed. Afghans who have served with the Allies who are being killed on the streets. The Taliban is going door to door and finding these people and killing them. What about these reports?
They are lying all the day and night to the Western media and the Western people in order to mislead the opinion of the world against us.
Do you consider women equal?
Yeah, of course, in their own way. On the basis of the Islamic rules, they have all the rights. All their basic rights.
Has the world abandoned Afghanistan?
Yes, absolutely. There's no other conclusion to it. The reality is, the world's walked away.
David Savage is devastated by what he views as a squandered opportunity that will have an enormous human cost. A high-profile former aid worker and UN war crimes investigator, he has a detailed understanding of the country and deep concern about what will happen next. What are you hearing out of Afghanistan?
Look, I've been in contact, continually with a number of the Afghan local employed staff, desperately trying to work out how they can get out of the country.
The Taliban says that things will be different this time, that they come in peace. I mean, do you believe any of that?
No, I don't believe it, and no, none of the Afghan people believe it either. And as they've rolled on through the country, they've committed atrocities on security forces that they've captured, on government officials. And we're talking about gouging their eyes out while they're alive. We're not talking, we're talking about hanging them in the streets where, these horrendous tortures. Does that really look or sound like they're a new regime? That's just beyond comprehension, really.
As our only civilian casualty of the war, the former police officer and UN war crimes investigator has experienced the savagery of the Taliban firsthand. In 2012, David was working with AusAid on a dangerous mission to help rebuild in Uruzgan province, the heart of Taliban country.
We're walking back from the district governor's office, and we're about 100 metres or so from the gates of the base, and a 12-year-old child had been strapped with a suicide vest.
Dressed in white robes, the child was filmed walking straight towards the group. Spread out along the road, the security detachment was oblivious to the threat. Their cordon infiltrated, David was vulnerable.
I didn't see him coming, but he came up from behind me, and about 2 metres away he detonated the vest he was wearing and, of course, blew himself up.
Oh, shit, son. God.
Dressed in white robes, the child was filmed walking straight towards the group. David was sprayed with 64 ball bearings, leaving him in a critical condition with a traumatic brain injury.
I don't think I'll ever be able to comprehend how a human being could do that to any other human being, but let alone an innocent child.
Hunter, where do you feel the pain in your leg?
And that's just shows what kind of people, the Taliban are.
What's your greatest concern now?
Well, my greatest concern now is for the Afghan people that have worked for the Australians, for the United Nations, for other NGOs. I think that once the international community's withdrawn all the internationals out of there and the foreign journalists have gone, then I think what will happen is the bloodshed and the paybacks will absolutely commence.
Stuart McCarthy is proud of Australia's contribution to Afghanistan. The retired Army Major is a veteran of 2 tours of duty and is instilled with a deep sense of loyalty to the Afghans he served alongside. People, he says, who have now been thrown to the wolves. How are you holding up with the news that we're hearing out of Afghanistan?
I'm struggling. I'm struggling. Everything that's happened over the past 3 to 4 months was not only foreseeable, it was foreseen. A lot of us have been begging our own governments to help prevent exactly this scenario from unfolding. And we've got nowhere. We've got nowhere. And that really hurts.
The unwritten rule of military service is that no man is left behind. For Stuart McCarthy, that's exactly what we've done. To the interpreters and the many others who were vital to the Allied mission.
We know documented cases of interpreters and other Afghans who worked for us. They've been pulled up at Taliban checkpoints trying to flee those provinces and get to Kabul. They've been dragged out of their cars. They've been taken to the side of the road and either been shot in the head or had their throats cut. These are the simple facts of what's been happening. They were the key. If we were to succeed in Afghanistan, these were the people who would have been the key to that success. And look at what we've done to them. We've left them there to die.
Taliban leaders have promised to grant an amnesty to all Afghans who opposed them. But giving up on retribution against its sworn enemies is not the Taliban way. Can you guarantee that those Afghans who assisted Allied forces will be safe under your leadership?
Yes. The guarantee is our official statement. Mm-hmm. We officially announced that their life, dignity, properties are safe. This, I think, the best guarantee and commitment.
Despite the assurances of spokesman Suhail Shaheen, there are credible reports of Afghan soldiers and their families being hunted down by Taliban militants. And the extraordinary scenes at Kabul airport are an indication of the panic among those who've helped Allied forces. The people of Kabul would prefer to fall from the wings of a plane than stay in an Afghanistan ruled by the Taliban. Is that not evidence to you that your own people are fearful of the Taliban? What are they running away from?
This was a conspiracy. The aim behind that was to show to the world that the people are terrified and scared from Taliban.
You know the true Taliban, don't you?
Of course. I belong to Hazara ethnic group, so the most persecuted minority of Afghanistan.
Bharat Ali Batua went through an epic struggle to secure a new life in Australia. But he counts himself lucky to have escaped at all.
I was working as a photojournalist in Afghanistan, and also I was working with the Allies. So I worked with the United Nations, and also I worked with the US Embassy.
As a photojournalist, Batua documented the best and worst of Afghan life. But when he exposed the sordid world of dancing boys, young men forced into sexual slavery for the pleasure of Afghan warlords, he was told he would be killed.
I had 3 crimes. I was Hazara, I was working with Allies, and I was a photojournalist. I had more reasons to leave than to stay there.
What's the past few days been like for you, watching what's happening in Afghanistan?
This is terrible, because Afghanistan, our country, we call it motherland, like a mother. And it feels like the people of Afghanistan has lost a mother.
Batua, do you think the world has yet seen the full force of the Taliban's brutality?
I think this is just the start.
For all of their promises of peace, Batua is convinced that the Taliban will show their true face as soon as they've consolidated power. Do you worry that the Taliban now taking control of Afghanistan, of Kabul, that we're going to see the Afghanistan we saw in the 90s?
This time, Taliban is more powerful. They have been legitimized by the US. So they have come with more power, with more force, and with much more arrogance. So this will be a much worse Afghanistan than the 1990s.
There's no doubt that had they come sooner, the evacuations of those who helped the international mission could have achieved much more. Disgusted by what he views as a shameful betrayal of the Anzac spirit, Stuart McCarthy burned his service medal in symbolic protest.
If I was to continue to wear my Afghanistan campaign medal, specifically, knowing that we as a country had abandoned these people to be executed by the Taliban, I would have been ashamed to wear it ever again. So it actually wasn't that tough a decision for me to make. What's more valuable here? A shiny piece of metal or human lives? We can, if we as a country and if our leaders decide to go and get these people out, we could save hundreds of their lives. And that, here now today, that would be, from my perspective, one of the best possible things that we as Australia could do to finish our 20-year-long military commitment to Afghanistan. Let that be our legacy.
The Taliban claims it's softer, more sophisticated this time around. But the signs so far are ominous. And for those who represent the modern face of this long-suffering country, the fear is that the nightmare has only just begun. The Taliban says that things will be different this time. Do you believe a word of that?
I don't believe in that. Women are a zero for Taliban. Women are, non-existent. We are very scared, we are afraid. We are sitting here watching ourselves dying. Leaders are not helping us. Government are not helping us. No one is helping us. Only the world can help us. Everything is finished right now. Everything is finished. We don't have any hope.
Hello, I'm Sarah Arbo. Thanks for watching 60 Minutes Australia. Subscribe to our channel now for brand new stories and exclusive clips every week. And don't miss out on our Extra Minutes segments and full episodes of 60 Minutes on 9now.com.au and the 9Now app.